For 3 years, I never once doubted my wife's love for me. To the outside world, she was the perfect wife. She'd wake up early every morning to make me lunch, meticulously placing a little decorative toothpick flag in my sandwich. When I got home, no matter how late, she'd have a warm bowl of soup waiting for me. "Honey, was work tough today?" she'd ask in a soft voice, her hands gently kneading my shoulders. I remember when we first met. She was just an intern, full of passion for everything. She'd handled difficult clients without a hint of frustration, just a calm smile as she explained things over and over. Back then, I thought to myself, if I could marry a girl this gentle, I'd be the luckiest man alive. And my wish came true. From our first date to our wedding day, she never lost that gentleness. Even my mother, who was initially unimpressed by her modest background, was won over. My mom never complained about Chloe, and in fact, praised her for her thoughtfulness. Chloe would buy my mom thoughtful gifts and gourmet groceries, and she always went all out for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Eventually, my mom started saying things like, "Our Chloe is just the sweetest." But recently, something fell off. I catch her staring at her phone, sometimes breaking into a sudden smile. When I asked what she was looking at, she'd just say it was a funny video a coworker sent. I didn't think much of it. I've worked my tail off for years, all to give her a better life. I might not be one of those executives in a luxury car, but I made sure she lived comfortably. Tomorrow is her birthday, and I special ordered a diamond ring to surprise her. I'd secretly measured her finger for a custom fit. I was just waiting to give it to her after work tomorrow. I couldn't help but smile, imagining the look on her face when she saw it. Today, I left work an hour early to pick her up for dinner. It was her birthday, after all. A little ceremony was in order. I pulled up to her office building, and the security guard, who recognized my car, greeted me with a friendly wave. "Here to pick up the wife, huh?" I nodded. "It's her birthday." "Well, happy birthday to her," the guard said cheerfully. "Your wife is a real class act, always says hello. By the way, I don't think she's left yet. Saw her in Mr. Chase's office a little while ago." I checked my watch. Still half an hour until quitting time. She was always a dedicated employee, probably just discussing a project with her boss. I figured I'd go up and wait for her. The elevator opened on the 18th floor. I walked down the familiar, quiet hallway toward her office. Most of her colleagues had already gone home. As I neared her door, I heard voices from inside. "Chloe," a man's voice said, laced with a teasing, flirtatious tone. "Tell me, do you ever feel guilty about us? About your husband?" I stopped dead in my tracks. The voice was strangely familiar, but I couldn't place it. "Don't bring him up," I heard my wife say. Her voice was sultry, a complete departure from her usual self. "You know how I hate it when you mention him." "It's not that I hate it," the man chuckled. "I just can't for the life of me figure out what a woman like you is doing with an average guy like him. You deserve so much more." A bomb went off in my head. My blood ran cold. Then I heard a soft rustling, followed by my wife's suppressed moan. I stood frozen in the hallway, my hand clammy, clutching the small box with the diamond ring so tightly my knuckles turned white. I don't know how long I stood there before the sounds inside finally stopped. I heard my wife's playful whisper, "Julian, stop. Someone might see." Julian. The name was a dull knife twisting in my gut. I finally remembered who that voice belonged to. Julian Chase. Her college sweetheart. The one that got away. He'd transferred to her company last year as a vice president and had immediately promoted her from the front desk to be his executive assistant. At the time, I thought it was a great opportunity, a sign that her hard work was being recognized. What a fool I was. I glanced down at the ring in my hand and felt a wave of nausea. I turned and walked back toward the elevators, my legs unsteady. I hadn't gone more than a few steps when her office door opened behind me. "Julian," she said, "I'll tell him I'm working late. Wait for me." I didn't look back. I just hurried into the elevator. As the doors slid shut, I saw my reflection, a man with a face as pale as a ghost. I didn't sleep a wink that night. Chloe came home at 3 in the morning. She moved quietly, washing up before slipping into bed, bringing the scent of an unfamiliar perfume with her. "Honey, you're still awake?" she asked gently. My back was to her. "Couldn't shut my brain off," I said, my voice hoarse. "Work stuff. Don't overthink it. Get some rest," she said, moving closer to hug me. I flinched, a gut reaction. She seemed to pause for a second, but then rolled over as if nothing had happened. "Well, take your time. I'm going to sleep." I clenched my fists, the pain of my nails digging into my palms the only thing keeping me grounded. The next morning, after she left, I opened my laptop and started digging. I never would have invaded her privacy before. Now I had to know the truth. I knew her phone password. When I opened her messages, the pinned chat was a group called Project Team. I tapped on it. The only other person in the chat was Julian Chase. Line after line of flirtatious messages filled the screen. Thinking of you, beautiful. Come to my office after work. Can't wait to see you. I scrolled up. The first message was from 6 months ago. They had been doing this for half a year. As I scrolled down, the messages became more and more explicit. I forced myself to read every single one. Each word anew cut on my heart. Then I saw a message that made my blood freeze. The video was a huge hit. Another viral one. Julian had written, followed by a link. I clicked it. It led to a private content site. On the screen, my wife and Julian were locked in a passionate kiss. The background looked like a hotel room. I fast-forwarded. This wasn't the only one. They had uploaded over a dozen similar videos to this site, each one racking up thousands of likes and glowing comments. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. She wasn't working late. She was shooting videos. She wasn't on business trips. She was on getaways with him. She wasn't entertaining clients. She was cheating on me. With trembling hands, I saved everything. Every message, every link, every video. Then I shut the laptop and ran to the bathroom, where I retched until there was nothing left. Over the next few days, I began digging into Julian Chase. In my wife's eyes, he was the perfect man, the one that got away, but I had a feeling there was more to the story. I called a buddy of mine who put me in touch with a private investigator. The PI sent me a full report within a day. On paper, Julian's resume was flawless. Top university, MBA from a prestigious program, vice president at a young age. But beneath the polished surface was a trail of filth. He was implicated in an embezzlement case a few years back, but got off when the evidence mysteriously vanished. There were also several sexual harassment complaints from former colleagues, all of which had been settled quietly with cash. The biggest shock, he was married, with a 5-year-old son. I let out a cold laugh as I put the file away. So this was the shining knight my wife was so enamored with. Nothing but a fraud, and she had thrown our marriage away for him. Digging deeper, I discovered that Julian was heading up a major new project. If it succeeded, he was in line for a promotion to president of the company. The official announcement was scheduled for the company's awards gala next month. I looked at the date on my calendar, my eyes turning to ice. After work today, I pretended to be held up and told Chloe to go home ahead of me. Then I drove to the bank. A contact there helped me pull the transaction records for all of our joint and individual accounts. Staring at the thick stack of statements, my hands began to shake. Over the last 6 months, nearly $50,000 had been transferred from her personal account. The recipient was always the same, Julian Chase. I thought about all the years I'd scrimped and saved, working myself to the bone to give her a good life. And she had turned around and handed it all to her lover. "Sir, are you okay?" the bank teller asked, her voice filled with concern. I looked up and managed a weak smile. "I'm fine, thank you." The sun had set by the time I left the bank. A cool autumn wind was blowing, but I couldn't feel a thing. When I got home, Chloe was in the kitchen. She smiled when she saw me. "Honey, I made your favorite soup." I looked at her, the image of the gentle, devoted wife, and my stomach churned. I dropped my bag and went into my study, turning on the computer. While investigating Julian, I'd found some interesting things. The project he was in charge of had some serious irregularities. With the right push, it could cause him a world of trouble. I felt the ring box in my pocket and suddenly smiled. If you two love acting so much, let's see how long you can keep the show going. I'm going to make sure everyone sees you for who you really are. Late that night, I sat alone in my study, the monitor casting a dim glow on my face. Through the PI, I got in touch with a few of Julian's business rivals. The most important one was a man named Vance, who had information on some of Julian's dirty deals from years ago. "Julian Chase is a snake, always has been," Vance said over the phone. "If he hadn't sold me out back in the day, I wouldn't have lost so much money on that deal." "So," I said quietly, "you have proof that he cooked the books?" "Of course," Vance scoffed, "but I never had the right opportunity to use it. He's too well entrenched at his company for me to make a move." And what if someone else were willing to make that move for you? The line went silent for a moment. What do you have in mind? At the awards gala next month, he's supposed to be officially named president, right? I said. I thought we could prepare a special gift for the occasion. After hanging up, I opened the folder with the video evidence. I watched frame after frame of my wife and Julian, their intimacy on full display, until my eyes burned. I didn't know how I was going to use these yet, but I knew the right moment would present itself. The next morning, I was on my way to work when I passed a coffee shop. Through the window, I saw Julian sitting with a woman. It wasn't my wife. It was his. I stopped, ducking behind a pillar to watch. Julian's wife looked elegant, but her eyes were tired. She seemed to be pleading with him about something, but Julian just listened with a cold, dismissive look on his face. A few minutes later, Julian stood up and left. His wife remained at the table, her head bowed, her shoulders trembling slightly. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd already saved. "Hello, is this Mrs. Chase? My name is Michael. I have some information regarding your husband that you might be interested in." There was a long pause before she spoke, her voice soft. "Who is this?" "Someone who is going through the same thing you are." We arranged to meet. After hanging up, I looked back at the woman in the window. She had finally lifted her head. Her eyes were red, but she stubbornly refused to let the tears fall. In that moment, I realized we were both just victims in this pathetic tragedy. That evening, Chloe told me she had to work late. I didn't call her out. I just said, "Okay, be safe." She seemed surprised by my easy agreement, but quickly recovered, saying sweetly, "You're the best, honey. You always take such good care of me." As I watched her hurry out the door, I opened the location tracking app on my phone. The red moved across the map, finally stopping at a high-end hotel downtown. I'd already done my research. It was the hotel Julian always booked. It was where they filmed their videos. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my coat and headed out. The hotel manager was an acquaintance of a friend, and he was waiting for me. "Mr. Chase is a regular here?" I asked, offering him a cigarette. "He is," the manager said, accepting it with a smile. "Usually with a very beautiful young woman. Always books the presidential suite." I handed him an envelope. "I need you to pull the security footage for me. And from now on, I need you to let me know whenever they check in." "Well, I don't know." He hesitated. I handed him a second envelope. "Don't worry. This won't cause any trouble for you." Back in my car, I reviewed the footage. There was my wife, arm in arm with Julian, nestled against him intimately. They were laughing as they walked into the elevator, looking for all the world like a real couple in love. But I knew the truth. To Julian, my wife was just a fantasy, a ghost from his youth. Once he was done playing, he would discard her, just like all the others. My meeting with Eleanor Chase was at a quiet tea house with private rooms. She was younger than I'd expected, with a graceful poise that spoke of good upbringing. "I've known he was having affairs for a long time," she said, her hand trembling slightly as she held her teacup. "But I never had the courage to confront him or even to look for proof. I was afraid the truth would destroy me." "Are you ready now?" I asked gently. She looked up, her eyes firm. "Yes. My son is 5 years old. I can't keep pretending anymore. I need to show him that I am not a doormat." I slid a folder across the table. "This is everything I have on your husband and my wife. The videos they posted on that private site, the wire transfers, everything." Eleanor's face grew paler as she flipped through the pages. "These videos, he actually posted them online." "How could?" "Not only did he post them, he made a good amount of money from them," I said with a sneer. "Each one brings in a decent income." "That bastard," she slammed the file on the table. "I'm going to ruin him." "Calm down," I said, trying to soothe her. "The awards gala next month. That's our chance." Lately, I've been watching Chloe closely. She's still the perfect, gentle wife to me, cooking elaborate meals every night. Sometimes she'll hug me out of nowhere, whispering that she missed me. But I know it's all a lie. Her heart belongs to Julian. Every meal she makes for me is an act of penance. Every "I love you" is a fabrication. Today is Saturday, and for the first time in ages, she suggested we go out. "Honey, it's been so long since we've had a day to ourselves," she said, linking her arm through mine, her smile radiant. "Let's go see a movie." I nodded. "Okay." She picked a romance. Halfway through, she fell asleep on my shoulder. I turned to look at her, her face peaceful in the dark. I thought about the security footage I'd received last night. She had rested her head on Julian's shoulder the exact same way, a blissful smile on her face. The light from the screen flickered across her features. I wished so desperately that this was all just a nightmare. That when I woke up, my wife would still be that sweet, innocent girl I married, not this stranger full of lies. After the movie, she held my hand, our fingers intertwined. "Thanks for coming with me, honey," she said sweetly. "Let's go home." I knew why she was in a hurry. She had a date with Julian at 7. Sure enough, not long after we got home, her phone rang. She told me it was an emergency meeting at work. I watched her leave, then opened the files I'd prepared. "So, my dear, very soon, you won't have to pretend anymore. At the very height of your triumph, I will bring you crashing down." The awards gala was scheduled for the 20th of next month. On that day, I deliberately stayed late at the office. Around 9 o'clock, I got a text. Chloe and Julian were at the hotel again. I checked the time and called Eleanor Chase. "Mrs. Chase, they're at the hotel." A dry laugh came through the phone. "I know. My lawyer has the divorce papers ready. We're just waiting for the gala." After hanging up, I reviewed the evidence one last time. Julian was careful, I had to admit. On the surface, everything looked clean, but the deeper you dug, the more dirt you found. The tech project he was managing, for instance, was just a front for him to embezzle millions. Without the internal document from Vance, I never would have found it. I compiled all the evidence into a single, password-protected file. Then, I sent out a series of emails to several media contacts, inviting them to the awards gala. "Trust me," I wrote at the end, "you're not going to want to miss this. Today is Sunday, and Chloe is actually home." She was on the couch watching TV when I sat down next to her. "Honey, is something on your mind?" she asked, resting her head on my shoulder. "You seem so distracted lately." I managed to smile. "No, just tired from work." "Do you want to take a few days off? We could go on a trip," she said, looking up at me with wide, innocent eyes. "Just the two of us." I looked into her eyes. "Do you remember when we first met?" I asked suddenly. "Of course I do," she smiled. "I was a clueless intern. You were the one who taught me how to use Excel and write a proper report. And after that, she trailed off. After that, we fell in love." I noticed what she skipped over. The part about her relationship with Julian and how she chose me over him. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked softly. She froze. "Honey, why are you asking that all of a sudden?" "Just a thought," I said, stroking her hair. "You're an amazing woman. You could have done much better than me." "Don't be silly," she said, wrapping her arms around my waist. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'd never regret choosing you." I leaned down and kissed the top of her head, a cold smile on my lips. "You're right, my dear. I was so good to you, so good that you felt you could betray me without a second thought." This morning, Chloe sent me a flurry of texts. "Honey, want to get dinner tonight? I booked a table at your favorite restaurant. I have a surprise for you." Winky face. I replied, "Sound great. What time?" 7. "I'll pick you up." I put my phone down and leaned back in my chair, closing my eyes. Her behavior was becoming more and more erratic. I couldn't tell if it was a guilty conscience or if she suspected something. That night at dinner, she presented me with her surprise, a ridiculously expensive watch. "I got this for you, honey," she said, beaming. "You always say you don't deserve me, but in my eyes, you're the greatest man in the world." I ran my thumb over the watch face. "This must have cost a fortune." "It's nothing," she said dismissively. "You've been so good to me all these years. I wanted to do something nice for you." I just looked at her, saying nothing. I knew exactly how much that watch cost, at least $5,000. And I knew, without a doubt, that the money had come from Julian. She was using her lover's money to buy me gifts. The irony was sickening. In the afternoon, I met with Vance. "It's all here," he said, handing me a manila envelope. "Proof of Julian's fraudulent accounting. Records of bribes he's taken. It's more than enough to sink him." I glanced through the contents. It was meticulous. "You're not worried he'll take you down with him? What's there to be afraid of?" Vance sneered. "Scorched earth. He's bled me dry over the years anyway. It's time to settle the score." Leaving Vance's office, I saw Julian and my wife sitting together in a cafe across the street. They were by the window. Julian was talking and laughing, and Chloe was looking at him with pure adoration in her eyes. It was the same way she used to look at me. Back then, I was the only person in her world. Now, I wondered if it had all been an act from the very beginning. I was the safe choice, the man who could give her a stable life. But Julian was the one that got away, the dream she could never let go of. I stood across the street, watching them for a long time. I took out my phone and snapped a few pictures. It's almost over. Soon, you won't have anything to smile about. When I got home that night, Chloe had prepared a feast. What's the special occasion? I asked, kicking off my shoes. I just wanted to make you a nice meal, she said with a smile. You seem so stressed lately. I thought you'd lost weight. I looked at the spread on the table. You remember our first date? I asked. She paused. I do. That little Italian place. You said you had a surprise for me, and then you brought out a plate of the worst pasta I've ever had. I laughed. Yeah, I was pretty clueless back then. I thought good intentions were all that mattered. She put down her fork and looked at me seriously. Michael, what's wrong? You've been saying the strangest things lately. It's nothing, I said, taking a bite of food. It just strikes me how much people can change. She was quiet for a moment, then said, Honey, after my company's awards gala is over, let's go on that vacation. Just the two of us. I looked up at her. Why the sudden urge to get away? I just feel like we haven't had any quality time together in so long, she said, looking down at her plate. I want to spend more time with you. I could hear the tremor in her voice. She was afraid of something, or maybe she was anticipating something. Okay, I said gently. After the gala, we'll go on vacation. I knew exactly why she wanted to wait until after the gala. Because on that night, Julian Chase would be named president. And as his lover, my wife's star would rise right along with his. I'm sorry, my dear, but that night won't be your crowning moment. It will be your judgment day. The day of the awards gala finally arrived. First thing in the morning, I saw Chloe getting ready, taking extra care with her appearance. She chose a sleek white dress and applied her makeup with precision. Anything special happening today? I asked casually. What? Oh no, not really, she stammered, her hand hesitating for a split second. It's just the company awards ceremony. I have to be there. I nodded. Well, don't be too late. I might be, she said, adjusting the hem of her dress. There's an after-party. I watched her leave, a cold smile on my face. An after-party. To celebrate with Julian, no doubt. But after tonight, there would be nothing left for either of them to celebrate. Once she was gone, I opened my closet and took out the suit I'd had cleaned. I went over all the evidence one final time. Before I left, I sent a text to my media contacts confirming they were in position. Remember, I typed, wait for my signal. The gala was held in the company's largest ballroom. I arrived half an hour early and found an unobtrusive seat in the back. The room slowly filled with people in formal wear, their faces bright with excitement. I saw Julian standing near the entrance, greeting guests. He looked sharp in his tuxedo, the picture of success. My wife stood a few feet behind him, playing the part of the perfect assistant. But whenever she thought no one was looking, I saw the unadulterated love in her eyes as she gazed at him. Finally, the ceremony began. The MC announced a series of standard awards and recognitions. Then came the main event. And now, we have a very important announcement to make regarding our corporate leadership, the MC said with a grand smile. In light of his outstanding performance over the past year, the board of directors has unanimously voted to promote Vice President Julian Chase to the position of company president. The room erupted in applause. Julian walked confidently to the stage and began his acceptance speech. I glanced at my wife in the front row. Her eyes were glistening with tears of pride. How pathetic. When Julian finished, the chairman of the board stepped onto the stage to present him with a plaque. That was my cue. I stood up. Just a moment, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the applause. I have something I'd like to say. Every head in the room turned toward me. I saw my wife whip her head around, a flash of pure panic in her eyes. Mr. Chase, I said with a polite smile, before we make this official, perhaps we could all watch a short video? Before he could answer, I pressed a button on the remote in my hand. The massive screen behind the stage flickered to life, broadcasting one of the videos he and my wife had filmed in that hotel room. What is this? The chairman shot to his feet. The ballroom descended into chaos. I saw the color drain from Julian's face. My wife was frozen in her seat, looking as if she'd been struck by lightning. A highlight reel of our new president's extracurricular activities, I said calmly. You'd be surprised how popular these are on certain websites. You're lying. Julian finally found his voice, roaring from the stage. "This is slander. It's fake." I laughed. "Fake? What about these?" I clicked the remote again. The screen now displayed his bank records. A series of wire transfers. "Mr. Chase, can you explain why my wife has been sending you thousands of dollars on a regular basis? $50,000 in the last 6 months alone. Where did she get that kind of money?" Julian's face was a mask of fury. Who the hell are you?" "I'm Chloe's husband," I said, enunciating every word. "Your little lover. My wife." Just then, the ballroom doors swung open. Eleanor Chase walked in, holding a thick stack of documents. "Darling," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "you've hidden this all so well. But guess what? I've already handed copies of everything to my lawyer." The scene devolved into utter chaos. I kept clicking the remote, displaying one piece of evidence after another. The embezzlement from the tech project, the records of bribes, the harassment settlements. It was all there, clear as day, on the giant screen. Julian looked like he had aged 20 years in an instant, collapsing into a chair on the stage. My wife, Chloe, finally snapped out of her stupor. She stumbled to the stage and grabbed Julian's arm. "Julian, tell them it's not true. Tell them it's all fake, please." He didn't even look at her. His eyes were glued to the screen, desperately searching for a flaw. That's when the police officers, who had been waiting outside, entered the ballroom. "Julian Chase, you're under arrest." The sight of the uniforms seemed to wake Julian from his trance. He shoved my wife away from him and made a break for the side exit. But it was too late. The officers quickly subdued him and slapped handcuffs on his wrists. As they led him away, Chloe clawed at him, a crazed look in her eyes as the reality of who her one that got away truly was finally sank in. All the crimes, the embezzlement, the fraud, all of it. He had promised her a future. Why would he do these things? Wasn't the money she gave him, the profit from their videos, enough? "Why would you do this?" "Why?" she shrieked, her voice raw. He turned to look at her one last time, his eyes filled with nothing but contempt. "Chloe, did you really think I loved you? You were just a toy." I watched as my wife swayed on her feet, tears finally streaming down her face. At that moment, the reporters I called surged into the room, camera flashes erupting like lightning. The scandal was massive. By the next morning, Julian's downfall was the top story on every news site. His affair with my wife was, of course, exposed in lurid detail. The videos they had posted were dug up and became a viral topic of disgust and ridicule. My God, these two are disgusting. So much for the perfect wife. Throws away a good home to be a homewrecker. People like Julian Chase deserve to rot in prison. The internet was merciless. My wife locked herself in our bedroom and didn't come out for 3 days. On the 4th morning, she finally emerged. She saw me in the living room drinking coffee and immediately fell to her knees in front of me. "Michael, I'm so sorry. I was wrong," she sobbed, gasping for air. Please forgive me." I set my coffee cup down and looked at her coldly. "Forgive you for what? For betraying me? For taking my money to support your lover? Or for posting those disgusting videos of yourself online for the world to see?" I wasn't thinking straight. She clutched at my legs. He tricked me. He said he loved me." I let out a bitter laugh. "And so what? He says he loves you, and you throw your entire life away. Was I dead? No, that's not it." She shook her head, tears pouring down her face. "Michael, just give me one more chance, please. I'll be good to you, I swear." I leaned down, my voice a whisper in her ear. "But Chloe, it's too late." Julian was arrested. Beyond the scandal with my wife, he was facing serious charges for financial crimes. The police found even more incriminating evidence when they searched his office. His wife, Eleanor, filed for divorce and sued for the entirety of their assets. She'd been collecting evidence of his financial misconduct for years. "I want him to have nothing," she said, her voice hard as steel. As for my wife, she was completely doxxed online. People found out where she worked, where her parents lived. Her parents were so devastated by the news that her father had a heart attack. Her younger brother showed up at our apartment and started beating her. "You shameless bitch," he screamed, grabbing her by the hair. "Do you have any idea what you've done? My girlfriend broke up with me because of your disgusting mess. How could you be so stupid? You were married to a great guy like Michael, and you threw it all away to screw around with some scumbag." I stood off to the side, watching dispassionately. Only when her face was bruised and bloody did I finally speak. That's enough. Her brother spat, letting her go. Michael, don't stop me. A tramp like her deserves worse than this. I shook my head. Don't dirty your hands. I looked down at my wife, crumpled on the floor. Let's get a divorce, I said softly. The divorce papers were drawn up quickly. Chloe cried and begged, refusing to sign. Her parents came to our apartment, pleading with me to give her another chance. She's still young. She made a mistake, her mother said, wiping away tears. Please, just forgive her this one time. I looked at them. Ma'am, do you think betrayal is something you can just forgive? She was with that man for 6 months. She made pornographic videos with him. She stole my money to give to him. I said, my voice flat and even. Can you explain that away by saying she's young? They had no answer. Just then, Chloe grabbed my leg again. Michael, please don't divorce me. I know I was wrong. I really do. Just let me have this one more chance, please. I'll change. I promise I'll be the perfect wife. I looked down at her and felt a profound sense of revulsion. Let you off the hook. I sneered. When you were filming those videos, did you ever think about letting me off the hook? She choked on a sob, unable to speak. Sign it, I said, tossing the papers in front of her. Or I'll personally email a link to your videos to every single one of our relatives and friends. Let them all see what a virtuous daughter you really are. Her whole body trembled. With a shaking hand, she finally picked up the pen. Julian's trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison for embezzlement, fraud, and a host of other financial crimes. After the sentencing, his ex-wife, Eleanor, came to see me. Thank you, she said. If it wasn't for you, I might still be living in the dark. I shook my head. You don't need to thank me. I was just getting justice for myself. I heard you and Chloe are divorced. We are, I nodded. Some things, once they're broken, can't be fixed. She was quiet for a moment. You know, she said, I keep thinking that if I'd been stronger, if I had just divorced him the first time I found out he was cheating, maybe none of this would have happened. I looked at her. All we can do is move forward. You're right, she smiled faintly. I've decided to take my son and move to Europe. A fresh start. As we parted ways, she turned back. You take care of yourself, Michael. I nodded. I will. The online harassment against my ex-wife escalated. People found her new job and got her fired. They found out her doctor's office, the grocery store she went to. Everywhere she went, she was met with whispers and pointing fingers. That's her. Julian Chase's mistress. Looks so innocent, doesn't she? Who knew she was such a tramp? I heard her husband was a saint. And she still cheated. She couldn't live in the city anymore. She had to quit her job and move back in with her parents in her small hometown. Before she left, she sent me one last text message. Michael, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I truly do. I regret what I did every single day. I regret betraying you. Can you ever forgive me? Please. I stared at the screen, and for a fleeting moment, I remembered the first time she made me lunch. Her eyes were so clear then, her smile so genuine. But that person was gone forever. I deleted the message and blocked her number. A month later, I was coming home from work when I saw a familiar figure huddled by the entrance of my apartment building. My ex-wife. She looked gaunt and exhausted. When she saw me, she stumbled to her feet. Michael. I frowned. We're divorced, Chloe. Have some self-respect. I know. Her voice was choked with sobs. I wanted to see you one more time. How have you been? I heard you got a promotion. Get to the point. I cut her off. She bit her lip, tears streaming down her face. Michael, I really am sorry. I've thought about you every single day, about everything we had. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm begging you. Please forgive me. I looked at her, my expression like stone. Forgive you? Do you think you're worthy of forgiveness? When you were out making those videos, did you ever stop to think about the consequences? And now you're sorry. You think saying sorry just magically makes it all go away? Go home, Chloe, I said, turning to walk inside. And don't ever come back here again. Don't do this. Please. She fell to her knees, her cries echoing in the empty street. I walked away without looking back. A few weeks later, I heard that my ex-wife had had a complete mental breakdown. She was found wandering the streets, telling strangers, "Have you seen my husband? He said he had a surprise for me, and now I can't find him." Her parents called me. She had been committed to a psychiatric hospital. The doctors said it was severe depression, and she would require long-term care. Please, just go see her. Her mother begged me over the phone. She keeps calling out your name. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. No, I told her a long time ago that I hold a grudge. She made her choice. Now, she has to live with the consequences. After I hung up, I saw I had several missed calls from an unknown number. It was her psychiatrist. The message said she had tried to kill herself multiple times. Each time, she would scream my name right before, saying she needed to apologize to me. I blocked the number. A year passed quickly. In that time, my career took off. I was promoted, got a significant raise, and was even selected for a management training program overseas. Sometimes I think about the past, but it feels like a lifetime ago, like a story about someone else. It no longer matters. I have a new life now.